Now we continue our journey to meet the other 5 finalists, and our first stop is in North Carolina, where we meet Jarman and Nancy Sullivan. From the time he was 5 years old, Jarman Sullivan was determined to be a farmer. After graduating with a degree in agronomy from North Carolina State, he began growing corn, soybeans, wheat, tobacco, and timber on the family farm near Faison. A 3,050 head pig nursery and a 2,460 head hog finishing facility are also part of the diversified operation. Following Jarman's return, the farm expanded its tobacco production and established wildlife habitats on its 350 acres of forest land. Center pivot irrigation was also added, including soil moisture sensors and low-pressure drip nozzles. The farm also utilizes terraces to reduce erosion, and soil sampling and yield maps help manage fertilizer application, as well as plant population and hybrid selection. Working with seed companies, Cooperative Extension, and North Carolina State, the farm has evaluated new products and farming methods to help manage risk factors primarily due to the climate and weather events. Planting newer hybrids and varieties of crops that can withstand heat and drought is a top priority. Growing varieties of tobacco and corn that have varying maturity dates allows harvesting at an optimum time to avoid damage from hurricanes. In 2015, the farm lost 40 bushels per acre in some cornfields due to stink bug damage. Working with North Carolina State on scouting methods and thresholds to determine the growth stage and number of insects to justify treatment, damage was nearly eliminated last year. Other studies on the farm have included the nutrient availability of lagoon sludge, the effects of fungicide and insecticide application on soybean yield, nitrogen rates in winter wheat, and maximum yield plots. Jarman's wife Nancy teaches second grade and handles the technology on the farm, including yield mapping software, pesticide records, and bookkeeping tasks. The couple hopes to improve the farm's productivity to allow their sons Will and Thomas an opportunity to farm in the future if they choose an agricultural career path. Jarman is active in his church, is fire chief for the local volunteer department, and serves as a member of the County Extension Advisory Committee and Cooperative Advisory Board. Heading back up north, we find ourselves in North Dakota and the home of Matt and Stacy Swenson. Since Matt returned to his family farm near Walcott, North Dakota, the operation has seen several significant changes. The crop acreage has more than doubled since Matt, a graduate of North Dakota State with a degree in ag economics, returned to partner with his parents. They have also expanded their livestock operation, constructing 2 hoop barns to serve as a 640 head cattle finishing facility. The cattle can consume wet corn, saving drying expenses and allowing an earlier harvest. The confinement operation allows greater control over feeding and eliminates runoff concerns of a more traditional feedlot. The manure is applied to the fields, reducing fertilizer expenses. Other changes on the farm are less obvious, but just as significant. Matt has implemented cell grazing on his pastures to improve forage production and range condition. He added a shadow well to 2 pastures using a pump battery charged by a solar panel. He has adopted variable rate seeding and NH3 application and uses satellite imagery and previous yield maps to make decisions on population rates and nitrogen application rates, increasing his grain yield without affecting input costs. Using drones has helped improve zone management for seeding and fertilizer application. Recently, Matt has begun experimenting with cover crops on his small grains fields. Surface and the drainage has improved soil quality and maximized yields. while Matt's wife Stacy works off the farm as a rangeland management specialist for the U.S. Forest Service. Her knowledge of vegetation management is useful in making grazing decisions on the farm. In addition to helping on the farm and raising their 3 children, Xander, Lincoln, and Tori, Stacy volunteers as a Sunday school teacher and is involved in the Society of Range Management and the local library. Matt enjoys working with 4-H and FFA youth and as a graduate of the Executive Program for Ag Producers. He's a church trustee, Soybean Growers Association board member, and has served on the Carl Perkins Grant Advisory Board. They were named the Farm of the Year by the county and Conservation District. Now we head on over to New Jersey and the home of Tor and Nicole Anderson. After earning an associate degree in agronomy from SUNY Cobleskill, the primary challenge facing Tor Anderson of Sparta, New Jersey, was figuring out how to become a first-generation farmer. He convinced his parents to sell their house and buy some land, and they became partners in a farm. But it was a humble beginning, with Tor working full-time as a carpenter while running a greenhouse and selling tomatoes out of a shed at the end of the driveway. He eventually began selling to restaurants and supermarkets, and in 2008, he opened a garden center. Through the years, the farm has expanded to include 2 farm stands and local farmers markets. They have added hay and field corn while continuing to grow 20,000 tomatoes, 20 kinds of fruits and vegetables, sweet corn, annuals, perennials, pumpkins, gourds, and trees that produce maple syrup. The business now employs more than 30 people and hosts thousands of children and visitors to its 15-acre scavenger hunt sunflower maze. Last year, the farm began a CSA program called Farm in a Box, as well as hosting its first indoor Christmas market in a greenhouse. Tor credits his wife, Nicole, with generating new ideas for the business and being the primary caregiver to their 4 children, Anya, Greta, Elsa, and Elin. She runs the farmers markets, organizes field trips to the farm, and handles public relations and advertising. While business and family responsibilities dominate the couple's time, Tor and Nicole are involved in their church, mission trips to Haiti, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Farm Bureau. They also donate produce to local food pantries. Tor utilizes conservation practices to build up organic matter in the soil. An agronomist is hired to do soil testing, providing a detailed report on nutrient levels and soil pH. Cover crops in winter months reduce erosion and improve organic matter, and careful crop rotations reduce insect and disease pressure. Rutgers University helps manage disease and pest monitoring with its integrated pest management program. Tor's long-term goal is to create a sustainable farm business that will continue into future generations. Our next to the last stop finds us here in South Carolina and the home of Dean and Sarah Hutto. Dean's agricultural background goes back to the early 1900s when his great-great-grandfather began farming. Growing up near Holly Hill, South Carolina, Dean knew that farming was in his blood, and he didn't consider any other career while earning his bachelor's degree in business administration at Newberry College. During his senior year, he formed a partnership with his brother and began raising corn, cotton, soybeans, and peanuts. Just a few years later, his harvest was devastated by 21 inches of rain falling in 2 days. But the farm has persevered, and looking ahead, Dean hopes to diversify into agritourism and vegetables, taking advantage of some of the urban sprawl that has moved into the area. Dean has further mitigated his production risks by installing center pivots to irrigate more land, using low pressure to reduce runoff, and soil moisture monitors and drones to monitor the irrigated fields, no-till and strip planting, and a vertical tillage tool allows him to reduce erosion while still managing crop residue. Precision soil sampling saves money and allows Dean to improve weak areas in the fields. Including peanuts as a crop on the farm was a new idea that has been successful, but it also required new technology. Auto-guidance steering was implemented on the farm as a result. Since his wife, Sarah, grew up in a farming family, she understands the long hours and is supportive of Dean's farming career. She is currently attending nursing school, but helps with Dean's community involvement, including his responsibility as chair of the State Farm Bureau's Young Farmer and Rancher Committee. Dean also serves on the State Board of Directors for Farm Bureau and is a Sunday school teacher and board member at his church. He is a member of the South Carolina Soybean Board and the Clemson Extension Advisory Board. Rounding out our second group of finalists, we head to Wisconsin, where we find Mark and Angie Ulness. The philosophy that guides Mark and Angie is simple. We work hard every day in the interest of our strong faith, family, and farm. They are raising 4 children, Clarissa, Garrett, Whitney, and Walker, on their farm near Balders, Wisconsin. The oldest of 5 children, Mark was just 19 when he began making major decisions on the farm following the untimely death of his father. He continued to develop the 100% registered Holstein herd that his father had begun. Mark and Angie both earned bachelor's degrees in dairy science from the University of Wisconsin-Madison before buying the cattle and machinery from Mark's mother. Since then, they have focused on improvements to make the operation more efficient. The milking system was updated to modern technology that allows them to monitor information on each cow and digitally adjust and calibrate the pulsation and vacuum settings, making milking more consistent regardless of who is milking. A milk pasteurizer was purchased to cut costs in feeding calves, and it has increased the milk production from cows fed the pasteurized milk as calves. Mark notes that the heifers grow faster using the new system, and they were able to breed them 50 days sooner. Corn silage, as is now harvested as shredlage, which does a better job of processing feed, adding 3 more pounds of milk per day per cow due to improved digestibility and dry matter intake. A professional crop consultant recommends soil and water conservation practices on the farm. An injection toolbar is used to distribute manure on the fields from the 2 million gallon in-ground clay-lined manure pit that can hold almost 2 years of waste production. A new system also captures runoff from the barnyards and carries it to a concrete spreader that disperses the water over a vegetative treatment area. Mark and Angie are active in many organizations, including Foremost Farms USA, Eastern Wisconsin DHIA, Youth Sports, AGR Fraternity, Professional Dairy Producers of Wisconsin, and the Wisconsin and U.S. Holstein Associations. Mark is the County Holstein Association president, and Angie is a graduate of the Young Dairy Leaders Institute. They serve as 4-H leaders and dairy judging coaches and are active as church volunteers.